Hi, my name is Elizabeth Frick, and I am here with Ebony Duvert, and today we are going to be presenting on data mining emotions. So for data mining emotions, organizations are currently looking for patterns of micro expressions that might predict behaviors. So what these organizations are doing is trying to find a way or a technology to read the expressions on people's faces and translate that to the emotions that they are feeling. Some organizations have used a technology like this so far that they are using to identify reactions to new products, but this has come across with mixed results. So the results from this technology is not 100% accurate. People can display a very large array of emotions all with under 30 seconds. And people don't always act on their emotions. If it seems like somebody really likes a new product, that necessarily doesn't translate to sales of this product. Organizations now want to find a way to use this technology to survey emotions in the workplace. There is discussion about whether or not they would be having surveillance of employees at all times, putting cameras in different locations in the office, record them during meetings, or even having cameras on their computers to record and monitor their facial expressions. Or they can use this technology to gauge the reactions of their employees to company announcements. This technology can also be used for lie detection. So there's some instances whether or not just based on your facial expressions, it can determine if you're lying or not. So one of the questions that this case presented is, what do you think are the best workplace applications for emotion reading technology? So based on what has been developed so far, the most accurate readings that are being determined is whether or not somebody is lying. However, there are problems with this. If it's not completely accurate, then somebody could get in trouble for lying even if they were not lying. Another good use of this technology could be instantly gauging reactions of employees to company announcements. So if the company makes a big announcement, they can instantly tell how employees are feeling about this announcement, whether they're something they're excited for or something that has upset a lot of employees, and they can get this information more instantaneously without waiting for employees to come forward and share their feelings and their thoughts about these types of announcements. Another question is, what are the ethical implications of reading faces for emotional content in the workplace? The largest issue with this surveillance of faces for emotional context in the workplace, it can be an issue of privacy. That is this something that employees should be made aware of if they're going to be monitored constantly, and employees should be able to give their consent to being monitored by their organization. If an organization went ahead and was monitoring employees without telling them, that would upset a lot of people, as there is already a big concern about privacy and monitoring in their society, that if it translates into the workplace too, that could upset quite a few people, especially if that's something that they were not being told was happening. Another problem with this is the inaccuracy of the technology. So there can be repercussions for the technology being inaccurate. Like I mentioned before, that if this is trying to determine if someone's lying and the technology says, well, this person is lying, and the employee gets reprimanded for lying, where they could have been telling the whole truth the whole time, that can create some problems. Another question is, assuming that you could become better at detecting the real emotions from others' facial expressions, do you think it would help in your career? And I do think there are potential benefits from being able to accurately reading emotions from facial expressions. One more like direct benefit could be if you're working in sales and you're trying to do a sales pitch, you can change your sales pitch based on the feedback you're receiving from the emotions of who you're pitching the sales to. But this can also help you within other presentations, that you can see how your audience is reacting to you and how they are feeling about what you're saying by the emotions that they're expressing on their faces.
Okay. Case incident 1. Managers have feelings too. Emotions presented by managers are powerful and can drastically impact the work environment. Negative emotional displays. Alter the shared emotions within a group. Disapproval of the leader and clinical employees. Positive emotional displays. More likely to be effective as a leader and increase employee performance. Meaning that in the environment, you as a manager, you need to be able to understand the negatives and the positives within the work environment. If something is going wrong, you need to be able to tackle that, as well as seeing what is beneficial and going the right way during the work environment. Emotional regulation can be a powerful tool used by managers to help create a collaborative and non-hostile work environment. How do you think managers can strike a balance between authenticity and managing their own emotional displays, like surface acting in organizations? Or do you think it is impossible to achieve such a balance? Why or why not? Managers should be honest with their employees about their emotional state, meaning that they shouldn't hide what's going on with them, or if something else is going on within the work environment, everybody needs to be on the same page. Managers need to find a balance in their emotions between their life in the workplace and outside the workplace, meaning they can't come in ready to be the head leader and then put their problems onto their employees, because that will just show them that they're not fit to be in charge. And you need to have a separate balance between your work life and your personal life. So here are some strategies that managers could use to help them between their work and personal life. Self-awareness, meaning like take in whatever that is bothering them or whatever emotional state that they're going through, and go through like how the situation is affecting them, and just take a minute to self-reflect. Pause and reflect is kind of like the same thing as self-awareness. It's just taking a minute, breathe, and understand like, hey, I do have a business to run. I am in charge. I can't let this affect me. And I need to be in the positive mindset as possible. Seek support, meaning if you're not able to like handle it by yourself, go and talk to somebody, reach out to somebody, tell them like, hey, like this has been bothering me, but I also have a business to run and I need to be fit to like help with myself, like probably tackle like something that's gonna help and beneficial me. Lead by example, meaning you don't want to come in with the attitude that you had before you walked into work. You want to be able to tell your employees, hey, you're doing a good job, even though you're going through what you're going through. You need to be the top of being the leader that you are in that company. Empower the team, meaning encourage them, tell them that they're doing a good job. Hey, like, I saw that you did this today. I want to say thank you for that. I didn't have to tell you, and you're doing a great job. Communicate effectively, meaning that say, hey, today, guys, if something's not going right, I just want to guys let you know I'll be in the office for a little bit longer than usual today. I'm just not in the mood. If you do need me, I will be able to come out. Just give me a minute if I am taking a minute, or talk to the assistant manager if that's possible. Do you think there are any emotions that are off limits that leaders or employees should never display at work? What are they, and what makes them off limits? There are emotions that are inappropriate to display and act on in the workplace. Example, anger or rage. So you don't want to come into the workplace angry or hostile, especially if you're working with customers, because customers do get that energy from an employee or a manager, and they'll result as us being disrespectful and rude, and they'll take it as a comment that we don't need in the work environment, a review like, hey, that just brought down a review of like them not wanting to come into this place anymore, or saying like, hey, the managers are so rude, they don't know how to control their employees, and it was just very disrespectful to me. And I know as a manager, it's not good to like have that reflected on your business. And I know as an employee that if you see other employees acting out, like maybe I don't want to be here anymore, or maybe I just need to take a couple of days off because this environment is not what I expected. While it may be hard to regulate these emotions, it can be inappropriate to act on them in the workplace. There can be negative effects on the workplace environment and the emotions of those around you, meaning there are negative outcomes. There is negative outcomes that come with every job out there, but the employees and managers need to know how to handle themselves in the appropriate way so it doesn't affect them and their job and how to perform the job. Here are just some things that are off limits that I searched up as well. As said, anger and disrespect was displayed earlier in what I said. Anger and disrespect, people don't like that. I know from experience that people can be very hostile, and it could be like an all war between you and a customer. And I know managers don't like that. Overwhelming sadness, I know like people are going through stuff every day and you don't know like what comes with life, but you don't want to display that all the time. Talk to a manager and be like, hey, I need a minute. There's just so much going on right now, or ask the manager for a couple of days. Jealousy, I know like we're all trying to get ahead of the game, especially as an employee and leader. We want to be a high and above everybody and stuff like that, but jealousy won't get you to the point where you want to be. Arrogance and rage, and rage. Those are the 6 that are off limits. Do you think there is a way to improve your reading of your managers and coworkers' emotions and adapt your behavior based on these emotional information? What are some ways that you can work on these types of behaviors? First one is paying close attention to what they are saying and how they say it. Body language and how people are saying things can also be inflicted, and you could tell like based off of like how they're saying it, something is wrong, or like just based off of like how they're presenting it, something could be wrong or it could be in a positive light. 2, try and understand and share the feelings of others, putting yourself in their shoes, meaning like understand like what they're saying and try to understand like how they're saying it, and like see yourself in their shoes, understanding the situation that they're trying to explain to you. 3, observation of body language, facial expressions, and gestures. I know, like, just based off of my body language, sometimes people can be like, are you okay? Like, you seem a little standoffish and stuff like that. That just displays how much, like, I'm like, oh no, I'm fine. Like, but it displays how much, like, something could be wrong or off. 4, open and honest conversation to understand the emotional state. Be open and honest on, like, how you feel about what they're saying. Try and give them the best possible advice, and like just not give them something like you think they want to hear. Be like vocal and tell them like, hey, this is what I think, this could be wrong, or like, seek some help or try something different. 5, how you react to or influence when interacting. So your reaction is everything, because it could be influenced by that person and be like, hey, yeah, like say somebody is like upset or something and they're having like a conversation with you about what just happened, and you're like, you know what, like you should go to them and tell them like how you feel, but in that moment like they shouldn't have done that because you're like antagonizing and trying to like get them to do something that you know that they shouldn't have. So like that's like influencing them, encouraging them to do the wrong thing instead of like telling them, hey, calm down for a minute, you don't want to do that. 6, be willing to adjust your behavior based on the emotional information you receive to create a positive environment. So just adjust yourself, like understand the information that you took in and create an environment that is best in the positive light instead of the negative. Here are just like a couple more things on the side that are like types. So self-infliction, ask for feedback, read books, or work on positive relationships instead of trying to influence the negative ones. Just think about like, you know what, I know that will get the best of me. Let me just work on moving forward with the person that it just had the incident that just happened with that person. Case incident 2. When the going gets boring. Boredom in the workplace is something seen across all organizations. Millennials are especially susceptible to workplace boredom. Twice as likely to be bored at work than baby boomers. 64% of millennials would forego a salaried a salaried 100K, sorry, job for a $40,000 job they love. Negative consequences to workplace boredom. Boredom can lead to unavailability when you are needed. Complaining about boredom can irritate those around you who are satisfied with their jobs. The largest way to combat workplace boredom is by being proactive. So I know like some people, when they get jobs, like they most likely don't like the job that they're at, even though they're making 10 times more money than something they love. That's with a lot of cases with people these days. People who are making the amount of money that at a job that they love, like they do see like the outcome from like when they were working at a job that they hate versus the outcome that they were working at a job that they love. So I know like eventually it gets to a positive outlook than something that they were stuck at or they seem like stuck at from before they seem satisfied. Who is responsible for reducing boredom in the workplace and why? Is it the employer, the one who is bored? Combating workplace boredom should be a jointed effort between the employer and the employee. The employer needs to provide challenging work. The employee needs to be proactive about their boredom. So, meaning that if an employee feels like the work is too easy for them and they just feel like it's quick, they can get done, they're not seeing much of a challenge and they feel like the job that they're at is just not satisfying to them and they feel like that they need to be put to use and figure out something that's going to be proactive to them, like that's going to challenge their thoughts, challenge like who like they are in that work environment, and that's going to be beneficial to them than just receiving the work that they receive from the employer and just like, okay, like I finished it and now what?
Do you think that certain tasks are inherently boring and thus cannot be changed? If so, what are they? And if there are tasks that cannot be made more interesting, how can the negative effects of boredom be mitigated for the employees who must perform those tasks? So, some workplace tasks will always be boring by nature, and what one might find boring, another employee might get more enjoyment from it. Um, one way that we can combat boredom would be changing our mindset and how we look at these tasks. Maybe if we could find a way to make this task more interesting or more challenging to us. But I also think something else we can do is work with our employer and see if we can find a way to work around this boring task and make it more interesting to us. Or if it's something that we can maybe swap out for another task and have like an employee who enjoys doing this task, we can take one of their tasks when it might not be something that they enjoy doing. Or it might just be something that we need to work through and have an understanding that some things will be boring, and to not necessarily let ourselves focus on the boredom, but to move through it and then go back to tasks that we find interesting. Which emotion regulation technique do you think would be the most successful in mitigating boredom, and why? One of the ones that stood out to me would be cognitive reappraisal. So if we can reframe how we look at our job and reframe our mindset and be proactive, it can help counteract boredom. That if we can change our outlook at the work that we're doing and the tasks that we are performing, that we can have a more positive effect on the work that we're putting out. And by changing our mindset, we could become less bored by these tasks and find joy in doing these tasks. And some questions that we have for the class. So the first one, what are some of the potential benefits of data mining emotions in various fields? So marketing, healthcare, or social services. Is there a specific field that data mining could be more beneficial in? How can organizations use data mining emotions to improve employee satisfaction and productivity? So if organizations were to take on a basis of monitoring employees and data mining their emotions, well, how can they use that information to improve employee satisfaction and their productivity at work? And how can data mining emotions lead to potential biases in the decision-making process? So if an organization is monitoring their employees' emotions, what biases can come up when they're making decisions about these employees? And here is our works cited. Thank you for watching our presentation.